Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Muneera Bano, and it's so nice to be here with the Royal Society of Victoria to talk about whether we have artificial intelligence or artificial stupidity, and what would the role of diversity and inclusion will play in the futuristic society that depends on artificial intelligence. We, as a society at the moment, have reached a crossroad that we have to decide with this technology and the concepts of AI. If we increase our reliance, are we going to move towards a society where everyone will have the prosperity that are promised, or are we just moving towards the destruction and the gloomy future? So, exactly what is artificial intelligence or AI? It refers to the collection and tools and techniques designed to extend human capabilities of information acquisition, analysis, processing, and decision making. It's the quest to build machines that can learn, reason, and act intelligently. It covers the latest advances in machine learning, neural networks, deep learning, natural language processing, big data, Internet of Things, smart cities, and robots. But what we need to understand is that these algorithms or the set of rules that are behind AI systems, they are trained on data sets in order to understand the world or perform whatever task we want them to perform. And this is where the whole problem will start. Let's go back a bit in the past where we are talking about a pre-digital era and all these historical records that were there. If we use these historical records to make our artificially intelligent system understand what the reality was for humanity, we already talked that it was full of racism, sexism, and religiously targeted violence. And at one point in history, it was considered okay in one way or the other. And then on top of that, the historical data, it has huge data gaps. It was written by the victors, those who were not part of the victory team. They were presented in a different light, or they never exist. The one of the biggest one that is talked about a lot even to date is the gender data gap. Across a dominant part of Afghanistan, women are not addressed or referred to by their names in public, even on wedding invitation or tombstone. They are typically referred to as the daughter, wife, or mother of their father, husband, or eldest sons. Many Afghan believe that it's dishonoring of a woman. So if we think about a data-oriented society or the digital future, a good proportion of that society do not exist. This is kind of, if you would like to think, a digital genocide of underrepresented people who do not have any data on them. We, as humanity, for the society that is dependent on data for the future, have to accept that future will not include everyone. There will be no diversity and inclusion. Let's move to the present. Now, at present, we say that we have social media accounts. People are connected, only the people who have the means and the resources to connect to the digital resources. But that's a good proportion of every country. And in the digital era, we have the most brilliant thing, because some of my research and my directions are related to it, is the natural language processing. The technology has made it so easier for people coming with different linguistic backgrounds to connect with each other, to know each other. And then it's moving beyond that. It can identify the sentiments, it can extract information, it can question answer on the phone, and it can translate as well. So we now have all these different apps and techniques or technologies present in our mobile devices that can talk to us just like a normal human being. But let me point out to one of the problem here. These algorithms, once again, they come from historical records, and this is one of the classic example that we show of the problems. So here we have a Google Translate. I have put some gendered roles for in some sentences to show what happens when you translate it into Persian. So Persian is a gender neutral language, and the translation literally means like, this person is a president, this person is a strong leader, this person is a doctor, and so on. Now, I copied, pasted, and tried to translate it the other way around. It came down to the AI algorithm to select the gender in English for each role. AI algorithm selected he for president, leader, doctor, and scientist, but selected she for cooking nurse and being elegant. That was translated from being delicate. Why did this happen? Because simple statistical generalization from the training data set, which comes from the historical records, which we already talked about was full of racism and sexism. So before we actually craft a very powerful God out of AI, let's pause and appreciate the level of corruption and the lack of diversity and inclusion in the current data sets. Just like I said, that the picture of the reality that we want AI to understand will all depends on the data, which is the building block. before we move forward, we have to understand that artificial intelligence cannot move forward without ethics. Law, policy making, humanities, social sciences, they are quite far behind, and the technology is moving untethered into the future. So, where are we going? One direction that I know and I have been involved in some of the research is we call them smart cities. So these are the future visions of some of the cities around the world, and a lot of them are being visualized, like Singapore, Stockholm, Dubai, New York. And these are the large scale cyber physical complex socio technical systems for an urban population that is comprised of many interconnected systems. And you can see that including all the cliches that I talked about before, in the end, there is a big data. These are data dependent societies. The idea is that we have to involve people. So, artificial intelligence is no match for natural stupidity. But what about artificial stupidity? Just by giving digital devices in the hands of people and telling them how to use them, would that beat the natural or artificial stupidity? That's another question. So, smart cities for smart citizens, making them connected through digital devices. They are always there. They always follow the trends. No matter what, they want to be at top of the things in the cyberspace. But who are we forgetting here? There are people who may not be part of this digital cyberspace. And do we even care what will happen to our environment? How smart we would be to make these choices? Is everyone included in these smart city initiatives? That question is unanswered yet. So, lack of citizen engagement and representation of citizens from all walks of life can have serious repercussions. Lack of diverse representation can lead to biases in design that can disadvantage the represented or underprivileged groups of citizens, and the possibility of increasing the digital divide that will impact the less technology savvy population of the city. But with COVID, we came to face a new reality. Now that being locked up, our dependence on these social media platforms to connect with our loved ones has increased way beyond what was already there. And another thing that came with this COVID was something that I personally got involved into a research was these COVID contact tracing apps. What I was interested was that this was a real life or reality test for a lot of governments to find out that whether their citizens do trust them with their location history. There were a lot of debates about around the privacy and the trust, and people didn't want to download the apps. They had a lot of resistance, especially in the democratic societies with individualism. COVID-19 is a social problem of interconnected humanity. And we are offering a technological solution here that is collecting data. And that data is going to be used at the back end by the algorithms to make some decisions. Now, bad choices of only one person could potentially be enough to impede the collective efforts of the whole society at large in their fight against the virus. But when it comes to the technological solutions, we have to understand, do these apps or any other technological solution have the potential to understand that in this particular case of pandemic, everyone matters? If no, then they are not going to be effective in this fight. They are not the silver bullets, because pandemic is a very special circumstance and everyone matters. And success of these contact tracing apps depend on everyone being involved, everyone downloading, or at least the majority of the population downloading. To summarize, AI is a tool and it should be used as a tool. It's an amazing tool. It's a genius of the human mind, but it's not God. It's a tool. And we should not let it become a weapon of mass hatred and division among us. We should use it intelligently. I'm not against the use of social media platforms or use of AI, but I am against letting it become holier than thou God of our society. That's not what it is. Unless we fully, consciously, and unconsciously accept the value of diversity and inclusion for human existence, we will keep on repeating the history. The sophisticated tools will come and go. They will always be the tools. But in the end, what will matter for all of us is that we are all just people, and people are what matters.